Commissioner Rudy Garcia. Here. Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Anna Hansen.
Present.
And is Commissioner Henry Roybal online or excused?
Commissioner Roybal, are you online? I know you're on the way. He's on the way, so he's just temporarily excused.
Okay. And Chair Anna Hamilton.
I am here.
You have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. So, I'm going to see if I'm in the right place. That takes us to the pledge, Commissioner Roybal is here. That takes us to the pledge, the state pledge, and the moment of reflection. So if we could all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag, the state of New Mexico, as a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you, and I would invite Jerome Ortiz for the moment of reflection. Or we had somebody from the clerk's office.
Sorry, I think we might have been a little busy with the election today. Let me find the...
Madam Deputy Clerk, are you doing it? Or
Let me find the wording, and I can read it real quick.
I just wanted to make sure.
Let us take a moment to focus on the work ahead of us today, being ever mindful of our decisions, and in the best interest of our community, we take a moment of silence.
Thank you so much. And then I'm going to go to Commissioner Hansen and then Hughes.
So both Commissioner Hughes and I have lost someone who was a colleague of mine and a friend of Commissioner Hughes, Carl Peter Cordova, who was at the National Heritage Area, our liaison for the national parks. I had worked with him since 2018, and he unfortunately passed away at a very young age. He was 52 years old. He had collapsed from cardiac arrest, but he was an incredible, kind, loving, generous human being who was so helpful. And, you know, the Heritage area, he loved the Heritage area. I was with him up in Alamosa a week before he passed away, and he was completely dedicated to his position at Pecos and the national park there. And it is just such a shocking and devastating loss to our entire community of heritage areas and to the community of Santa Fe. And I will I'll go to Commissioner Hughes.
Yes, thank you. Carl Cordova was also, in addition to being superintendent at Pecos National Park, was a search and rescue volunteer where I served with him for many years, went on several searches for lost people, and he was indeed a wonderful and contributing member of our community, and I feel so sad for his wife and his two sons that he passed away at such a young age.
And Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, Carl Cordova was an individual, as some of us have worked with him. I worked with him, myself, and some other colleagues in regards to the Glorieta battlefield site. And it's very interesting. There's hundreds of people that pass through that site daily. And he actually explained to me what the significance of that site was back when the Confederate was coming through the southern part, through Texas, up through parts of Mexico, and he knew that Glorieta very well when it came to the battlefield. And he explained to me the two generals that were actually, one was protecting Fort Union, the other one had traded and went over to the Confederate. And General Chavez was actually an individual that said, there's an old goat trail up here that we can actually go up the mesa and basically take the Confederate from behind, in which they did. And they burnt out the Confederate, and the Confederate kind of dismantled. And we'd probably be Southern right now if that battlefield, the Glorieta Pass, never happened. And what he was trying to do with some of the community members as well as our state legislators is actually national park, as into what happened there at the Glorieta battlefield. But I didn't realize that Carl had passed away. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanson?
There is going to be a public viewing for Carl, will be held on October 27th at 6 p.m. at Bardinelli Family Funeral Service, and on October 28th at 10 a.m. a funeral service will be held at the Cathedral Basilica of St. Francis, both in Santa Fe, and burial will take place October 31st at 10 a.m. at the Roselawn Cemetery in Pueblo, Colorado, which is where he was from and where he was born. And condolences to his wife Shannon and his two sons. We are just all going to really miss him. He was such an important part of this community, and as you can tell from three of commissioners who had strong relationships with him. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, everybody, for bringing that forward. That takes us to approval of the agenda. Manager Schaefer, do you have things to read us in on?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Our initial agenda for today's meeting was posted on Tuesday the 18th, and the amended and final agenda was posted on Friday, October 21st at approximately 5 p.m. First, consent agenda item 4F was added to the agenda. In addition, updated packet material and packet material itself was added for miscellaneous action items 6A and 6C. And finally, new miscellaneous action item 6F was added to the final agenda, the final agenda for today's meeting.
Excellent. So with those changes, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Hanson?
yes, I move to approve the agenda with changes presented by Manager Schaefer.
Thank you. I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Great. So that takes us to 1G, which is recognition of years of service and new hires. So Manager Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We're pleased both to recognize county employees who are marking significant milestones in their tenure with the county, specifically 5, 10, and 15 years of service with the county, as well as new hires joining our team. With regard to years of service, the following employees will be recognizing their 5th year anniversary with Santa Fe County: Daniel Martinez in Fleet Service, Toby Gallegos in Public Works, Tori Gallegos in Human Resources, Rees Lujan in Open Space. Marking their 10-year anniversary with the county is Jerome Tafoya in the Fire Department, Amanda Archuleta in the Corrections Department, Patricia Boys in the Health and Human Services Department, and Valentino Baca in the Sheriff's Department. In terms of 15 years, we have Lawrence Ortega in the County Assessor's Department, Maria Elena Montoya in our Corrections Department, Audrey Escabel in Human Resources, George Gurule in the County Assessor's Office, and Daniel N. Fresquez in the Information Technology Division. So we congratulate them on those significant milestones. Looking at our new hires during the month of September, we had Brittany Belletter, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, in the Assessor's Office, Edwina Ortiz in Project and Facilities Management Division of Public Works, James Walker in the Public Works Department, Robert Lucero in the RECC, Ramon Cedillo in the Sheriff's Department, Isha Acuna in the Utilities Department, Sean Meir in Corrections, Thomas Rael in the Assessor's Department, Carrie Gaston in HR, Jessica Lucero Muniz in our Finance Division, Jennifer O'Brien in the Health and Human Services Department, and Boleslo Romero in our Public Works Department. So again, we welcome our new team members and congratulate existing team members who are reaching significant milestones with the county.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We always love doing these, recognizing the people who make the county what it is and welcoming new people who are going to start contributing. It's such a great thing to do. Anybody else wish to comment or? So thank you for
Madam
doing
Chair?
that. Yes.
I just want to say thank you to all of our employees that are celebrating anniversaries, and thank you for being here and working with Santa Fe County and our constituents. And also welcome to all our new employees. I'm very excited to work with you and hope that we can build those relationships in the future.
Thank you so much. So that moves us on to item 3, which is consideration of proclamations, etc.
Chair, you forgot the minutes.
Oh, goodness gracious. Thank you so much. I'm getting ahead of myself. That moves us on to item 2, which is approval of the meeting minutes from September 27th. And I assume Commissioner Hanson has some changes, maybe?
No, I do not have any changes,
Okay.
but I'll move to approve.
Excellent, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Great, and thank you for that, Commissioner. Now we're on to 3, which is the consideration, presentation on alcohol in New Mexico and Santa Fe County, and 2, request for approval of the resolution urging the New Mexico legislature to research and implement evidence-based strategies to reduce alcohol-related harms in our communities. And I see we have our Community Services Director, but before we go there, I'll go to the Commissioners. So Commissioner Garcia, and then Commissioner Hanson.
Madam Chair, I'd actually like Mrs. O'Connor to actually proceed forward with her presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you
That's
so
okay.
much. Thanks, Director O'Connor, for being here. Really glad to have you. Is that on?
Me. Thank you for having me here today. I want to start by thanking all of you for your interest in this topic and in public health in Santa Fe County. And to thank specifically the Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Hanson, who brought this forward. There we go. I want to speak specifically to what I termed the good news about alcohol in New Mexico and the bad news about alcohol in New Mexico. And I want to start by some facts that I pulled from the New Mexico Department of Health and the CDC, and that were referenced in the Albuquerque Journal article recently that was done by New Mexico In Depth, which I think really provided some good context for policymakers, for consideration in reducing alcohol-related harms both in New Mexico and in Santa Fe County. And so some of the more salient points that were made: 1, alcohol kills New Mexicans at a far greater rate than anywhere else in the nation. by far. In 2020, we were twice the national average. New Mexicans are dying of alcohol-related harms at nearly 3 times the national average. Alcohol, liver disease, cirrhosis, and other illnesses related to alcohol abuse killed 963 people in New Mexico in 2020. And excessive alcohol costs about $2.2 billion in 2010. And there are a whole bunch of statistics who make up those cost figures, including lost productivity, medical expenses, and such. But I think the big take home is that New Mexico in general has a issue with alcohol, and it has led to the death at a far greater rate than people in other states experience. The good news, and there is some good news, is that New Mexico has made huge strides in reducing alcohol-related fatalities due to motor vehicle crashes. So we've seen a massive reduction in DWI really over the past probably 30 years. When I first started working in DWI, we lost about 450 people a year, which was at that point in time the highest in the country. We now are losing about 145, still unacceptable, but not close to being in the top 10. And if you'll see from the next slide, that also holds true in Santa Fe County. I see the past year there may be an anomaly in our data as it's coming in, but Santa Fe County by and large has seen a reduction in terms of drunk driving, and therefore has had a generally downward slope as people have learned that it's less accessible and the enforcement and the laws have been appropriate. And I think this slide is probably the most difficult slide to look at, and this is what's called alcohol-related harms. And alcohol-related deaths in New Mexico have risen significantly above the national average. As you can see, as evidenced in the graph above, the top turquoise being New Mexico, a dramatic increase starting probably 10 years ago, and that continues. And this would include things such as alcohol-related cirrhosis of the liver, chronic liver disease related to alcohol consumption, motor vehicle crashes that are alcohol-related, and then many other diseases directly impacted by alcohol use, and in this case, excessive alcohol use. And just as I showed the figures for drunk driving as well, the not so good news also extends to Santa Fe County. As you can see, there is a significant increase in terms of the number of deaths from chronic liver disease and cirrhosis that have been experienced in Santa Fe County. The good news about some of this data is that the CDC and many other entities do have very good research on reducing evidence-based strategies to reduce alcohol consumption. And I just want to briefly go over what some of the more strongly recommended measures are and how they could impact this in New Mexico. Some of these have been moved forward. The alcohol excise tax was last increased, frankly, in, I believe, 1994. New Mexico has an alcohol problem that so exceeds other states, but the alcohol excise tax does not particularly reflect that. There have been efforts that have come forward. I expect that there will be efforts of varying different kinds in the upcoming legislative session the evidence around increasing alcohol excise tax in order to reduce consumption is significant, particularly in other states that have some similar characteristics to New Mexico. For example, Alaska saw a huge drop in consumption with only a small increase in taxes. Alcohol outlet density. I grew up in Gallup, New Mexico. Gallup had a really significant density issue because when the liquor laws were put into place in New Mexico, a lot of the different entities were grandfathered in to the Liquor Control Act. And that was so in many places in New Mexico. Our DWI team historically has worked on alcohol outlet density. Sales to people who are intoxicated, again, another issue related to liquor control that is very dear to me. Often people are sold alcohol at 0.16 BACs and above, and that can become an issue. Screening and brief intervention. This is a program that we implemented in our DWI program, very evidence-based, short-term treatment that frankly is often delivered online. Another evidence-based strategy to reduce consumption. Alcohol ads in marketing, and I have education and reform of the New Mexico Liquor Control Act. In general, it's the Liquor Control Act that deals with density issues and the availability of alcohol within the state of New Mexico. And in closing, I just wanted to recognize some of the efforts that have been made here, and particular at the Community Services Department, certainly within the Sheriff's Department, and across the county. We do have a DWI team that's funded through the alcohol excise tax. We do public awareness, we fund enforcement, and have a really great compliance monitoring team who ensures that people that are convicted of DWI offenses are also meeting the terms of their sentencing. We at Santa Fe County do and continue to spend money on issues relative to alcohol consumption and health, and that includes things like detox services, treatment services. Our La Sala often gets people with chronic alcohol or substance abuse issues that we provide behavioral health services to, as well as a lot of the funding that is for youth behavioral health issues and that often touches on youth substance abuse. So in closing, I think that New Mexico and Santa Fe County will be focusing intently on this issue over the next couple of years. It's been a longstanding public health issue that we have here, but there are measures that can be taken to reduce the harms related to alcohol in New Mexico. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Dr. O'Connor. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Rachel, for an excellent detailed presentation. And thank you for working with Brittany on this as well as our legal department. As you are aware of, under Governor Bill Richardson, you actually had a major role in what I feel that the state of New Mexico started many years ago. You were actually the individual, the staff, probably one of the only staffs that worked with the different agencies as to how we can combat this challenge that we have in the state of New Mexico as well as our communities out there. Sometimes a lot of people don't realize how it affects individual people, families, friends, or accidents, as you saw in the paper today, the unfortunate accident that happened in Taos. Mm-hmm. It's almost something similar to cancer until it actually affects you some way, somehow. Then it crosses your mind and you think about it. As you mentioned earlier, the legislative session several years ago passed the liquor excise tax. Last session, they actually got rid of the little individual bottles that you purchase at gas stations. Whether that's helped or not, I think that's a topic for discussion. This year, the state legislature has a 60-day session. It has come up, the challenge in the state of New Mexico as well as our communities, it's needed out there. And how do we handle it? How does the state legislature handle it? I think that's something that myself as well as Commissioner Hansen bringing forward this resolution will assist us in going to the state legislature and asking what are they going to do if they do raise the liquor excise tax. And hopefully when they do raise that tax, if they do raise that tax, it goes to treatment programs and help for this community. And, you know, that's, the liquor industry is very strong and powerful out there, as you know. The state legislature has had some subcommittees. We've had the New Mexico Treatment Courts in September of this year actually had a presentation in regards to what do we need to do. It's on the radar screen for the state legislature. The Legislative Finance Committee, it's also been brought to their attention. So how we navigate, or how the state of New Mexico or the individuals or people or the communities that are actually being challenged through this is going to be interesting as into how we move to the through the state legislature. Your department, Santa Fe County, the efforts that we do here on your last page of your presentation it's great. And seeing how it works and the different things that Santa Fe County does for the entire community, whether you live in the city or whether you live in the county, is great. And I think the efforts, and my colleagues, I encourage you all to please, in the next years to come, when it comes to that crafting of the budget next year, that we continue to move forward in helping these different providers and or programs that help out the community for this need. And with that, I would just thank you once again. Rachel, you're probably one of the most individuals that knows how bills, legislation works for this type of legislation that's going to be brought forward. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Hansen if she has any comments, and then her and I will actually go through the resolution that we're proposing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. You know, alcoholism is a terrible disease, and it needs to be treated as a disease, and that there is treatment for it. And that is one of the great things that people can actually recover with their own determination, but it takes real determination to want to recover from that. And I think it's great that the Recovery Center is working on building another facility because one of the things that we're very short of is treatment facilities in this state. And I think that that is really an important part of helping people with alcoholism. I always remember Governor Richardson's slogan, "You drink, you drive, you lose." And I thought that was a very effective messaging. One of the things that I've asked for in the past, and I think this was before the pandemic, is, you know, maybe we should have our DWI bus that has the wrapping on it in the Fiesta Parade to help people know that, you know, Santa Fe County is really trying to help people and make sure that they know about our Connect program and La Sala and the Detox Center, and that, you know, recovering from alcoholism or detoxing is one of the most severe forms of detox, and really people are incredibly fragile at that time. And when we lose people, whether it be in a hospital, in a jail, or anywhere, it is because detoxing from alcohol is so severe on your body and needs so much care and support. So I just wanted to share those few words and thank Commissioner Garcia and and the whole commission, because I think that by Santa Fe County bringing this resolution forward, we can share it with New Mexico counties, we can share it with the other counties to really help lobby for the legislature to make a difference in people's lives. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Are there questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I think that we want to read the resolution into the record.
Oh, I thought you were giving time for any discussion first, but that would be
Okay.
fabulous. If you
Okay.
Go ahead and read the resolution.
A resolution urging the New Mexico legislature to research and implement evidence-based strategies to reduce alcohol-related harms in our communities. Whereas alcohol kills New Mexicans at a far higher rate than anywhere else in the nation, and
Whereas New Mexicans are dying of alcohol-related harms at nearly 3 times the national average, and
whereas in 2020 there were 1,878 deaths attributed to alcohol in New Mexico, and
whereas 1 in 5 deaths of working-age New Mexican is attributable to alcohol, and
whereas alcoholic liver disease, chronics, and other illnesses related to alcohol abuse killed 963 people in New Mexico in the year 2020, and
whereas excessive alcohol use cost New Mexico $2.2 billion in 2010. This is equivalent to more than 1,000 per New Mexicans per year.
whereas in 2019, 28.4% of Santa Fe County youth and Santa Fe High School reported using alcohol.
Whereas in 2019, 20% of those youth reported they took their first drink prior to the age of 13.
Whereas in Santa Fe County in 2020, there were 119 deaths attributed to alcohol and 38 deaths due to alcohol-related liver disease or chronicis.
And whereas Santa Fe County has vested interest in the health and well-being of its citizenry.
And whereas we support the New Mexico legislature to increase alcohol tax in the 2023 session of legislation as a mechanism to reduce the impacts on our community.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Fe urge the New Mexico legislature to research and implement evidence-based strategies to reduce the number of deaths and injuries due to alcohol-related harms. Consider efforts should be guided by the recommendation of the Center for Disease Control, CDC, including but not limited to considering of the following.
Number one, increase alcohol taxes. Increased alcohol tax has been shown to decrease drinking, including underage drinkers, and decrease many alcohol-related harms.
Regulate alcohol outlet density, limiting the number of businesses selling and distributing alcohol in neighborhoods is one of the most effective strategies for reducing alcohol-related harm.
Alcohol screening and brief intervention. Screening and brief intervention services provided in clinical, community, or fully online settings have been shown to reduce excessive alcohol consumption.
Limit the days and hours alcohol sales occur. Maintain or decrease days and hours that alcohol is sold.
Be it further resolved that the county manager is directed to forward this resolution to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, the leadership of the New Mexico Senate and House,